You're listening to the Breezy Moms podcast on Digital Stream Radio.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the Breezy Moms podcast, a weekly show that chronicles the adventures of motherhood. I'm Candace. Now let's start the show. Hey guys.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Are you really great?
No, not really.
It's one of those days.
It's been a very, very hectic day for me, but I'm trying to do my best to remain optimistic and remain positive and knowing that it is Breezy Mom's time. So, we're just gonna...
It all works out in the end.
It does. We're just gonna have to sort of kind of go woosah.
Woosah.
And let it go.
What was it? 3, 2, 1, what? 1, 2, 3, what the hell is bothering me? Do you remember that? Was that like Martin? Or it was something from the 90s. It's from some talk show. I think it was Martin. I really think it was. Somebody
By the way,
let me know if
everyone.
they've heard
Hello,
it.
listeners. We're sitting over here, we just jump right
we
into
jump in, but that's the whole thing. It's a conversation. But thank you again for joining us this week. We're here every week on Thursday at 7:30-ish on Digital Stream Radio.
That's right.
And you can listen live, or you can catch us on all the things, all the places where all the podcasts play. We're on all of them, except for one that Victor mentioned the other day. That
Which one?
I don't even know.
If it ain't Apple or Android, it's not important.
Oh no, burn! Well, Victor, shout out to Victor for listening anyway. Thank you.
Listen, get a device that can work with the times.
Right.
Stop listening on your cassette player.
Oh my God! Listen. I appreciate all of my listeners at every end.
Shout out, Victor. You said, is that
yes,
his name?
yeah.
Shout out, Victor.
At every end of the technology spectrum. Although Victor has all the things. You met Victor at my house, remember?
I did.
Yes. Okay.
I did. Yep.
All right, so let's move on because the show's not about Victor. So I'm super excited because later on we have a guest, my friend, a good family friend, Irina, who's joining us from San Francisco and is moonlighting as a DJ these days. So I'm super excited to it's just not... I had no idea that she would ever do this, and so to find out that she is doing it and kind of killing it in the game, we're actually listening to one of her, I don't know if it's a show or her sets. We were listening to one of her sets late at night one night, just jamming. So I'm super excited to have her on the show and hear about how she got into DJing. So stick around for that in a little while.
That sounds amazing, though.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's an experience that needs to be experienced.
It is.
So I'm curious.
Yeah, so
I'm definitely I want to know what type of DJ, what kind of music does she, does she get into? Does she spin? Is it a little bit of top 40? Is it more localized as far as her taste? Yeah,
we're gonna get there.
Awesome.
So let's just jump right in.
So, Candace, I have a question for you.
Yes.
How are your boys?
They're good. Okay, so the boys are good, and the boys are always good, although something always happens on my way to the show, and I swear it can't be because of the show. Maybe it is because of the show. I don't know. But today, my clients picked up early at 5 minutes to 5. So I got to close 35 minutes early, which was huge. I was so happy about it, which gave me a little bit of downtime. I was trying to appreciate the extra I didn't know it was coming. What is that word? I don't know what that word is, but I was trying to appreciate these few extra minutes that I didn't know I was going to have.
That she didn't have.
That I don't usually have, right? We're usually just going right until the last second. But
I usually tell her be here by 7. At 7:09, I get a text message. I'm on my way. I was like, I'm going to cut her.
Listen, I talk about this every week. One, I finish at 5:30. James doesn't get home till 6:15 or 6:30. And there's a legit changing of the guard that happens. And it's not that I'm giving him things to do or telling him what to do, because I totally trust that he knows exactly what he's doing.
But you're a mother.
Way more than I do. But I don't get back till late, right? We only have this 5 minutes. And so we have the entire evening process
so now she's
in the 5 minutes before I leave. I'm not blaming it on you. I'm telling you how, as a mom, as a woman, I make the shit work, right?
You have to.
When I get home after 11, he's asleep. The kids have worn him all the way out, and he's asleep. So we do it as the changing of the guard around 6:30. Takes 10 or 15 minutes, and then I can head out knowing that if I don't talk to him at the end of the night, we're okay.
Okay.
But before he got there, Lincoln and I, or the three of us, me, Lincoln, and Emery, we were playing a Paw Patrol memory game. So, just like a memory game, but it's Paw Patrol theme. And I didn't know that you could play. The only way I know how to play memory is you flip them over, right? So you can't see it, and you're trying to match the pairs. But the box says that you can play two ways, which is good for like younger kids and toddlers, which is, who can make the matches the fastest. So you put them all face forward, like all of them are up, and you're just like grabbing. You're not taking turns. You're just like, oh, I see this one, I see that one. And you're just like grabbing for the matches. I've never played memory that way, but I enjoyed it. And apparently I enjoyed it too much because I made too many matches and sent this 4-year-old into like a massive tailspin of like anxiety and anger that I was making more matches than him. And in my mind, like I tried so hard to slow down the second time we played. I was like, okay, we're making matches, but like I can't stop my brain. Anyway, I was playing with him and saying, hey, we're practicing. We're playing this game like 16 times in a row. Let's do this. And no matter how slowly I went, he was so focused on my matches. My winning and my winning. Matches that he wasn't looking at the board. And I'm like, dude, stop looking at what I'm doing and focus on the game. That's how games are played. So, it was terrible. I feel like I had a moment where like I'm trying to figure out how to teach him how to persist and how to like practice and persist. Because if I'm being honest, I feel like I didn't learn that. I might still haven't have learned that. I feel like often I try something new, and if I can't do it, I don't want to do it anymore because I didn't really learn about persisting because I'm smart and I usually get things on the first try. I mean, you just got to know yourself, right? You got to be self-aware.
Well, true.
I'm smart, and I usually don't have to try hard. So when I do have to try hard, I don't want to. It's like a reinforced thing for me. And as an adult, I see the flaws in that. Like I recognize that, but I've come to terms with it. And so I'm working on it. But I also want Lincoln, I like want to try and help him persist. And there's this thing, it's called growth mindset. It's that whole thing. Where you like there's a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. So growth mindset means that you see like your own potential, like you see that you can't do this, but if you try, you can do it. And a fixed mindset is like what I'm saying I usually have is I don't know how to do it. It must be like super hard. I don't want to do it. Right? Like if I don't know how to do it on the first try, it must be for geniuses. So I'm not going to do it. Right? So I'm trying to teach him this, but I clearly am lacking a little bit in the I don't know, in the like everyday practice of it, is I'm just like, oh, you're 4, figure it out. Like growth mindset. We're going to do this. Like I'm not doing a great job of scaffolding this growth mindset situation.
For him.
No, don't feel bad for him, okay?
What? But when?
Don't feel bad for him. Wow. We don't feel bad for him because people in the world are not going to feel bad for him.
Well, he doesn't know that I'm feeling bad for him. I'm just letting you know. You know?
I know, so and I feel bad for him too. But I feel, I don't know if you can hear it, but I feel like I just got worked up about it because it feels like a real thing that I have to deal with as an adult, and that a lot of us have to deal with as adults, how to persist through something, right? Like when you meet a roadblock or when you're trying something new, how to get through it. And in my real mind, my real brain, I know that he's not going to learn that at 4, but I don't know how to like backwards plan it so that I can meet him at 4 so that when he's 30, he's not like just learning it about himself like I did.
Wow. True.
So that's where I'm at today.
So
it feels like a real parenting moment that I recognize as a fail because he was totally devastated and cried for like half an hour. But I still stand in like, I kept saying to him, we practice to get better. I must have said it like 15 times. This is not the only game we're going to play. We're going to play the same game like 10 times in a row. You have made more matches. Every time we play, you make more matches. Don't you see that? Like we practice to get better.
So let me ask you a question. Yeah. So you put your child through all this
First of all,
anxiety.
Listen, we went through a lot of anxiety just now.
But obviously you don't let him know that. So you put your child through all this anxiety and then, then what happens? You're going to start playing the games again?
Well, we played that specific game like 6 times in a row until he gave up and like ran off and was crying in the somewhere in a corner somewhere.
So I want to talk about Breezy Mom's podcast Facebook page, and some of the posts that you be putting on there had me cracking up, but then some of them also have me sort of kind of like, oh. So
God.
You posted pictures of, I believe it was Lincoln. School pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about that? Because you were like, oh my God, he wasn't even like caring. He's like, nope, I'm going to take this picture, but this is what you're going to get.
Yeah, well, that's what he does. When I take a picture of him, he doesn't want to smile. He messes up every single picture with some kind of like crazy face. So it was a win that it wasn't his tongue sticking out, but he definitely wasn't like totally into the whole picture taking.
But he was
scenario.
so adorable.
Yes, he is adorable. I know he's adorable. I know he's handsome, and like he's my kid. I know all of those things. And still you can look at his face and see that he doesn't give a shit about how much I had to pay for these pictures.
But wait, so did Emery get pictures taken too?
No, Emery's not in school yet.
Okay.
Those are school pictures.
Oh my God, it was just hysterical, and I'm reading the comments. And people are like, "Yo, he's not even giving."
But if you read all of the comments, there were so many other parents who also posted pictures of their own kids. It's a thing. It's some kids. I feel like there's no real middle ground. I guess maybe Lincoln's picture is a middle ground because some kids
cheesing.
Well, I don't know, but you can see things on people's faces, right? And some kids are total divas and totally like picture, like they love having their picture taken, and they cock their head to the side. They're smiling, grinning, like they have a look. And then there are other kids who are angry. I saw some pictures of some kids who are close to tears, right? They're mad and they don't want to be involved.
Have their picture taken.
Right. Or maybe there's like the attention that's on them. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole lot of thing. But Lincoln's picture was maybe in this in between of like, I'm good. Are we done yet? Like is this over? Are we good?
So
but what does that have to do with scaffolding growth mindset?
Nothing. It was just I needed to sort of kind of get that out of my head because I've been I troll your page all the time, thinking about some of the stuff that you post and pictures of the kids, and then you had another picture that you posted with something that was really cool. So you have this jacket that obviously I believe it was Emery that was wearing it, that he's sort of kind of grown out of because now the sleeves don't get to where they need to. And so why don't you tell your listeners what you did to it? Just in case they didn't see it.
In case you didn't see it.
Because it was so like clever.
Yes. And I can't take total credit for this. That's because like I have a sweater that's been altered, but I purchased it that way. But anyway, so his jacket, his little like fall jacket is mostly fitting, but his wrists are out, so it's a little bit short. And the thing I think about in the most is when we're sitting outside and it's not super cold, but the kids are outside and their hands they don't know yet. Like after this, I taught them how to put their hands in their pocket to kind of warm up a little bit.
Yeah.
But kids don't know, 2-year-olds don't know how to do that. So him and the little boy, all of their hands are like freezing cold. So I was trying to figure out a way to extend, like what could I put on it that's not a glove, but could cover up his hands a little bit and give him the option of, like when you get cold, you pull your hands into the sleeves, just the tips are showing. Anyway, so I was looking for an old sweatshirt and I couldn't find one because I already got rid of all his smaller clothes that I was willing to cut up. And then I found a pair of sweatpants, like jogger sweatpants that I was willing to cut up. And so I was at my mom's and I asked her to cut off the jogger part for the foot that's tight. And she sewed it into the inside of his jacket.
That was super
So
smart.
now but it doesn't even, because joggers look like sleeves anyway, it looks like a sleeve and it's a cool, like, contrasting color. And so most of the time I have it folded back over because he's like in water or whatever he's doing. But when it is cold and I can see that they are a little bit cold, I pull it down and then it extends right about to his fingertips. So it allowed me to like to save that jacket until we get through this, until it's like winter and his real winter coat comes out. So I didn't want to have to buy him another
Like
in between coat.
But that was very smart.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You see, these are all the things that you learn when you troll the Breezy Moms podcast on Facebook. So you got to make sure
join us there.
Go to Facebook and like the page, because she seriously posts so many things, a lot of videos too.
Yeah.
And, you know,
so it's a good time. It's a good time. I actually was annoyed with Facebook the other day because when I'm doing it on my phone, it's not the Breezy Moms page, and it's very hard. I mean, it's first world problems, but it's very hard for me to post as Breezy Moms from my cell phone. So maybe you can show me later how to.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know. But anyway, so I'm trying to share stuff. And the stuff about Lincoln, I mean, I think I talked to a friend actually who doesn't put her kid on Facebook. I know a couple people who don't put pictures of their kids on Facebook. And I think as I talk to them a little bit, it starts out as like an all-around ban because they know their parents will put up so many things and maybe in some cases jump the gun. You know, like when you have your own pictures that you want to show of an event or something and other people post them first. It seems silly, but I feel like it makes you feel some kind of way, right? It's like my news to share. I would like to share this information, and then somebody else goes on Facebook and shares it and beats you to it, right? For your own thing. So I feel like sometimes they've said it's a little bit of that, and then a little bit of like grandparents show too much foolishness, and they don't have a good enough filter, so they just put an all-out ban. You're not allowed to post anything.
Oh, here's your child in underwear eating chocolate covered in... Yeah.
Exactly. So I am totally on the other spectrum of that. I don't really... I guess... I hate to say that I haven't thought about how they'll feel later, but nobody cares how I feel when the albums come out on the table and they're pictures of me in the tub and all of those things. You know, like we all have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, I guess the argument there that my friend made is that that's in your house. So the only people who are seeing that are people you invite into your house.
But that's on your Facebook. And the only people that can see that is those that you allow on your Facebook if your Facebook page is private.
It's true. Unless someone snatches it and makes a meme out of it.
Nasty. Oh my God. Can you imagine? I wish somebody made a meme out of me.
Yeah, I don't know, because you think it's great because you saw the one that you liked, and then someone changes it and you're like, oh, I didn't think about that. You know, like, and all of a sudden it's not a good meme. But anyway, I don't know how we got here.
We were talking about your boys.
Yeah, we were talking about them, and they're good. So I definitely felt terrible about how the whole thing with the game, the whole interaction happened. But of course, because I'm stubborn and I couldn't back out of it completely. I refuse to say sorry. I know I made a conscious decision not to say sorry, but I did try to talk him through, and I gave him a hug, and I said, I didn't say sorry. I try to say everything except sorry, because I'm trying to stop saying sorry. I'm not sorry. Is that terrible?
No, maybe a little bit. You're terrible. The mother. You're supposed to teach them.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just it's a difficult spot, right? And there's no friggin' handbook, and nobody tells you, and then nobody talks about these things, right? So you feel like you're the only one going through these like I'm a shitty mom moments, and that's why I do this show, because my shitty mom moment is usually someone else's shitty mom moment.
And somehow you might.
We can all feel better. Yeah, we can all feel better knowing that we're not. Our situations might be different, but they're not unique. That makes sense. You know?
It does.
So, and then my other boys are good. Emery's good, although he is totally, it's funny to watch them as kids. Emery is 2 and Lincoln is 4.5. To watch them be like devious or like tricksy.
How so?
So Emery knows that he's not allowed in the street, and I'm trying really hard to be a free range parent. Okay. I'm trying really hard, maybe not free range, but to like give them some latitude. I'm trying. Yeah. So I sit on the stairs, and they're allowed to be on the sidewalk, and they run. They know where the boundaries are. Our house and the neighbor's house. Can't go past those things because ridiculous.
So basically, you're a free range 2-footer.
Right, with not 2 feet, but with boundaries.
like 10 feet.
It's probably like 100 feet between each of the boundaries. But a clear, hard boundary is you cannot go into the street. And he knows that, like very clearly knows that. And I know he knows that because today, both times we were outside, he sees when I'm not looking at him and he inches closer and closer slowly. So like no sudden movements, slowly to the street, to the edge of the sidewalk. And then I watch him out of the corner of my eye, dip his toe in and then look back to see if I was watching, dip his toe in and look back. And today he got into the street, not he was still touching the sidewalk, but he was on the street. And he stood there and he kind of did a little dance a little bit and turned around. And I was looking at him so hard and he looked at me and there was like this moment and he leaned forward like he was going to go again. And of course I did the like black mom, And here he comes laughing, like he was laughing. And it just felt like this. You absolutely know the whole scenario. You know you're not supposed to be in the street. You know you could get hit by a car because I see him look up and down the street, right? You know that I may or may not be watching at that moment, and you're looking to see if I see you see me. Like, that is a lot.
So what did you take away?
I took away that they know exactly what they're doing.
No. I mean, we established the fact that he's literally antagonizing you at this point.
Oh, we went inside.
So you went inside.
Yeah, we went inside.
But what did you take away? Obviously, there has to be some sort of, that was wrong. And I saw you.
The takeaway is going inside because he wants to be outside. So it's always when you go into the street, we will go inside. And I don't know if you've heard this before, but I've learned, it was probably Scary Mommy. Someone wrote an article that talks about changing your wording from if to when. Because if you do something is kind of like you may or may not do it. If you, I don't know, spit on the ground, then you'll get in trouble, right? But they could not spit on the ground or they could throw something, like they could do something else, and then you'll be... You know when someone says you can't... Oh, just yesterday, I told the kids they couldn't put their feet on the chair. And so they laid backwards and had their feet sticking up in the air, but over the chair. You know what I mean? So they find a way to
sort of kind of stick it in.
Exactly. Like, and so if you use if, it leaves room for that. If you use when, it doesn't leave room for that because the consequence comes when you do that specific thing. When you go into the street, we will go inside. Then we will go inside. It's a like when then setup. And it has worked like really well for me because it's very clear and we just go inside. And I've been doing it probably for a year now. And it's not perfect. He still goes in the street sometimes, but then we go right inside. And he also wants to go down the neighbor's yard to play basketball in the backyard. And I'm like, when you go down the yard, into the yard, then we will go inside. And so he hovers around. And as soon as he's there, then we go inside. It keeps me from having to beat him, keeps me from having to do a whole lot of yelling. And,
But so then the question becomes very quickly, does he know that going inside then becomes that punishment? Obviously, he wants to stay outside, but how heartbroken about it is he?
Yeah, so I am learning the difference between punishment and consequence.
Because to me, if you're not crying, you didn't learn your lesson.
Right. So that's the difference between consequence and punishment. But crying comes from punishment, from some kind of like pain of losing some, like the punishment, like when you get spanked, it's a punishment. Like spanking is not a consequence of going into the street. Getting hit by a car is a consequence of going into the street. But we don't want to learn these kind of like
but
final
going inside
consequences.
is a consequence of going on the street.
Exactly.
But if he's not distraught about it, obviously it was like, all right, well, we went inside. Next time we go outside, I'll do it again.
No, but he
and
is.
Then we go inside.
Yeah, but he wants to be outside because he starts stomping and crying and yelling. He doesn't want to go inside. So he's still upset about it. He's not.
Okay.
It's not, he doesn't care about.
You better be crying. I'm coming over. Uncle Tommy's going to come over and
Please,
we're going to
the kid was crying just now over memory. There's enough crying going on in my house. I don't need to induce anymore.
That's too much. That's crazy.
So
awesome.
yeah, they're good. They're good. So let's just jump right in.
Yeah, we can.
I want to pull Irina in. So Irina is my good longtime family friend. My earliest memory. So I met her through James's family. She's Ghanaian, and my earliest memory of her is way early when James and I were dating. We picked her up maybe from an airport or from somewhere to drop her off at school when she was going to MIT, and we were at Tufts in the area. And that's the first memory that I have of her, and it's probably 15 years ago.
Yep.
And she's totally been, she lives in San Francisco now, and I think she's always sort of lived a little bit away from us, but we see her at least yearly. She's amazing because she's a super close family friend that I see her at all the family events, right? So I don't see her all the time, but I definitely feel like I've gotten close to her in the last, decade and a half.
I would say so. After a decade and a half of seeing each other,
I know. So I'm. You know how I feel about my chosen village, and so she's totally in my village. And I wanted her to come on the show because she's currently working at Google in data analyzing something, but she's also a DJ. And so I just think it's so cool that she's super brainiac Google person. Although screw Google that we kind of put all of the, how we think, oh, she's working at Google, she must be a super genius.
Well, I will tell you though, Google is or has in the past been one of the top places to work for, because of their flexibilities with scheduling and the way that they sort of kind of have that. It's like a campus culture.
Yeah.
So
I know, but I have my feelings about places that make it so easy for you to stay there all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Because that means if Google's your house, if Google has the gym and the shower and the dry cleaner and the food, the chef, all of those things, then you never get to go home.
But but it also allows
I'm
you
just saying.
for the flexibility. Like, for example, if you had a 4-hour spa appointment during the middle of your day, you can go to your 4-hour spa appointment in the middle of the day as long as you come back and finish your 8 hours into your evening, or you could do it at 4:00 in the morning.
That's probably not written in the handbook, so I wouldn't get anybody in trouble with that.
No.
Anyway, I don't want to talk about Google.
But it's seriously, we have to. She works for Google. And,
no, we're not here to talk about Google.
But she does.
Yes. So, yes, Google is flexible. But anyway.
I wish I had that flexibility.
I know. Well, where was I going with that? Anyway, Irina's here. Irina,
Hi,
thank you
Irina.
for joining us.
Hello. You're absolutely welcome. I'm very excited to be here.
I know. Okay, so I want to jump right into I make sure we have enough time to talk. So I mentioned that you're working for Google and you went to MIT, so you're super duper smart. And I hate to create this I don't know if this is a binary, that you're super smart and oh, by the way, you're a DJ, but truth be told, people aren't oh, these DJs are geniuses, right? So I think it's super cool that you have this background and that you're DJing. Why don't you tell me about how you got into DJing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm very excited to be on the show. Thanks a lot for inviting me on. This is a very cool show that you do. I'm very proud of you for doing it.
Thank you.
So you gave sort of our intro, which is that we met several years ago, and I remember actually when you and James came over to MIT to drop me off. I remember that was the first time I met you guys, and it's been great getting to know you over time. I live in San Francisco now, and like you stated, I work at Google now. I do data analytics for a consumer hardware business, and it's a lot of fun. But I really want to talk about DJing.
Yeah.
So I got into DJing, I will say about 4 years ago when I first moved to the Bay Area.
Okay.
And I have I actually remember the moment when I said to myself, you know what, I probably should try DJing, because I had moved here. I sort of moved here from the East Coast. I'd finished business school. I was going to start working at Google, but I hadn't started working yet. And I was taking a month off to reconnect with the Bay Area, find a place to live, do all this fun stuff. And a couple of friends of mine and I spent the afternoon in Dolores Park. And Dolores Park is this adult park where people just kind of spend the weekend to enjoy being a young adult in the Bay Area. So we hung out there, went back to my friend's place. He lives about a block and a half from the park. We had dinner. We were chilling out for several hours, and then we just started making song requests over YouTube. And so that went on for maybe like 30 minutes or so. But I'm someone who loves music. I've loved music for as long as I can remember, pretty much. I was the person who, like one of my favorite birthday presents was like my own personal radio. The reason why I like my own personal radio was because I could control the FM station that I got to. I didn't have to listen to what my mom was listening to or what my sister was listening to or what my dad was listening to. So I've always loved music. And so I thought to myself, I'm a music aficionado. I'm going to jump on this YouTube, on this laptop and try to like curate the evening for folks. And then we partied till 4 a.m.
Wow.
And at some point, one of my friends walked up to me and he was soaked in sweat. And I was like, what have you been up to? He's like, dancing.
That's amazing.
And it's just like a house party.
This is a house party, like on a random Saturday here in San Francisco. And at that moment, I thought to myself, maybe I should explore this. Because I was literally just doing this off of YouTube on my friend's laptop. And since then, I have sort of invested in, and for a long time, I was very much like a YouTube, like self-taught DJ, just like taking lessons off of YouTube, getting into the software, investing in the hardware. Recently, like this year, I've actually started taking lessons, so formal lessons from a teacher he's been DJing for over 30 years. He lives like 2 blocks from my house, so it's easy to go there every Saturday morning and spend 2 hours just like going through like multiple sessions.
That's amazing.
Different tracks. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. I enjoyed immensely, and I love that music makes people happy. And it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Music is music transports you.
It's transportive? Is that
no, transformative is the word I was thinking about. And it is that too. But it's what so smell is your strongest memory sensor, and I feel like your ears are your next one, or maybe I don't know, because I can
as well.
It's very strong, but when I hear a song, I remember like I know where I was when Hit Me Baby One More Time played for the first time on TRL. You know what I mean? Like
that happens for some people, but not everyone.
Oh, interesting.
It invokes your other senses, like memory, feeling, nostalgia. Like
I was at a party and it was hot and sweaty. You know what I mean?
No, well, they do say that music is the universal language. I mean, you could have
absolutely it is.
You could be in the middle. I would say I'll use Japan, for example.
Yes,
and someone doesn't speak English, but you play a Celine Dion song and they know every word for word.
I absolutely.
And they can sing it like from memory, like if they've been speaking English their entire life.
And they have no idea what they've been saying. I was in Spain when Britney Spears' album came out. The one where Lucky, I don't remember what it was called, but Lucky was on the album. And people who did not speak English at all, they were singing all the words, every single word. And I was like, whoa, but can we talk after this? Nope.
Oh, trust me. I queened out on a lot of Britney albums.
So before I forget, you said that you're taking lessons. What do lessons look like? Are you learning about the hardware and the software? Are you curating songs and song lists?
I've been DJing for 3 years, almost 4 years actually, and then I'm now taking lessons, which I think it tells you something about sort of DJing and being able to, how easy it is to become an amateur DJ these days. I think 20, 30 years ago, you had to invest in turntables and a mixer and really spend like a year learning. Yeah, and buy records.
Yeah, and like chicka, your hands, you gotta like lick your fingers. I don't know what you had to do.
Literally spend, I will say, a year just learning like beat matching, which is something that I learned on YouTube. I will say maybe in 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I think the industry has been transformed tremendously by technology. So what I'm learning now actually is I'm sort of going back 30 years. I'm learning how people learned how to DJ 30 years ago, because I believe that it makes you a much better DJ. What I learned on YouTube was how do you leverage technology that's available today with the hardware that's available today? Most of them are called controllers. And what that allows you to do is get an MP3 file, upload it on your laptop, connect your controller to your laptop, and you can start sort of listening to the music and beat matching immediately. And there's a button on controllers called the sync button, which sort of takes away that 1 year of learning how to match with your ears. So you hit the sync button, and now you're syncing to songs.
And it just like got it.
That's how amateur DJs sort of get from like bedroom to a club fairly easy. Something that people had to take like a year to do. But I sort of, I was doing the learning myself for a while, but I realized that I really wanted to sort of get to the next level. And I realized taking lessons, I think I do 2-hour sets. I don't know how many I've taken so far. I'm planning to do like 20 to 30 sessions with him. But I've done I'll say like 10 sessions with him so far. But I think just my first like 2 sessions, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I think it just unlocked something about creativity for me that is phenomenal. It just makes me feel like I can sort of jump in at any point in the song and just play it, mix it, transform it, put 2 pieces of it together, move one piece of it, move it to another side of it, and make people have an entirely new experience of a song that they've heard 1,000 times before.
That's a good point. And how do you, what is it called when people, like, I feel like there's a different word than mashup. Yeah. They did it on the, what is the acapella movie?
Mashup
Pitch in, pitch up, pitch perfect. Pitch perfect. There we go.
Yes. No, mashup is the right word.
Mashup is the right word. Do you do that?
I don't do that yet. You take like the lyrics of one song and then you take the instrumental of another song and you put it together.
Okay, got it.
Mashups are awesome. And I like the idea of doing sort of like really unexpected ones. I don't do mashups yet, but I do a lot of remixing and beat matching. So transitioning between 2 songs or even 3 songs sometimes.
Wow.
Merging like one piece of a certain song to another piece of a certain song, or what we call wordplay. So you sort of take music makes you lose control, like that kind of thing.
Got it. And that stuff I don't think that I realized how important it is to know how to match that stuff until I was recently at an event where the DJ was literally letting songs play until the end. So he was letting songs play until the end, but he was letting in the start of the next song. And so you'd get super excited because you know what's coming, but it would still be like a minute and a half of the other one that you were already over, And then he would let the other one start again from the beginning. And I was like, wait, but we already heard all
that. No,
like I want to drop. I want to drop when the beat drops, and it didn't drop yet. Like, why isn't it dropping?
Yeah, no, I think this is a technicality that I also didn't realize until I started DJing. And there's a lot of sort of technicalities around counting beats, understanding sort of the timbre and the sort of phrasing of music. And I think most modern music has somewhat similar phrasing. So it's 4 beats in a bar, 4 bars in sort of like a section, 8 bars in sort of phases of a song. So, the intro might be 8 bars, the, chorus might be 8 bars. So there's an amount of like, for pop modern music, it's kind of structured in a way that makes it easier for DJs to mix it in. And this is something that I hadn't actually studied music when I was young. I took maybe piano lessons for a little bit, but I hadn't really studied music. But I think people who study music, it makes sort of DJing much easier because they understand how.
It's a language. Music is a language. And so what are some of your musical influences, or what do your sets sound like? I love all kinds of music, and I have loved all kinds of music for years. I've listened to music from the 50s and music from the 70s and like modern music, and I listen to music from Brazil and like Germany and India and Nigeria. I love all kinds of music. I like to play music that sounds like a little bit of a fusion. I really like house music. I really love hip hop. I feel like I grew up on hip hop. So I like to play music that's from my background, music that I connect to, and music that I also think people will enjoy. And I love fusions, and I like things that sort of that are a little bit different or unique
from what people expect to hear. Most of my sets, like what I listen to a full range, but most of my sets I would say would be focused on hip hop, R&B, funk, soul, Latin, mumbattan, reggaeton. I would say Afrobeats. I love Afrobeats. I've been listening to it since I was a kid. Like I would say those are where my sets. I do a little bit of reggae, dancehall, soca, things like that as well. That's where my sets like generally range. But I like being like a all music kind of DJ, and I like to focus my set based on the audience. So what I would play at a cocktail party is different from what I would play at like the 1 hour during a wedding when people are they're already drunk and they're ready to really party.
And speaking at a wedding, I know the last time I saw you were talking about a wedding that was coming up and how you were transitioning to like event style. So you'd been doing some DJing of parties and now you're gonna like transition. So talk a little bit about the difference between, you know, your like club DJ or like your all inclusive, like bring the speakers and the booms and stuff.
Yeah. So I think in sort of the industry, if I'll call it that, there's DJs who are more like mobile DJs, and then there's DJs who are sort of more like they stick within a specific set of clubs. So mobile DJs sort of invest in the whole shebang. So they come up with a whole production set with speakers, the full setup, and they sort of come and they're all in. So you pay sort of a fixed price and they show up and they're all in. They show up with the entire set of equipment and they sort of control and produce your entire event for you. And then there's like club DJs who, you know, can show up with literally a USB stick to the club, plug it in, and then play all night.
And those people, sidebar, do those people mix things before? Because we were watching somebody who was making a joke and he's like, in the middle of your DJ set, if your hands are like pumping the air, like what is going on? Like what is happening?
Russell Peters. That was a joke from Russell Peters. I watched that. That's hilarious. I absolutely agree. If your hands are up in the air, you're not really DJ.
You're like basically playing a cassette.
Yeah. Like that means you've pre-recorded your entire set and you just hit play and then you walk off and you
dancing. And then your hands are on the table and you're pretending, right? Like nothing's actually happening. You're just like checking Facebook.
I think, you know, there's DJs that are sort of different spectrums of this. And I think with technology these days, there's a capability to pre-record things ahead of time. And so I think there's like, people could have debates all day long on whether pre-recording stuff is better versus play on the fly. There's some DJs that only play, like laid back Luke. He's very like rigid about only playing on the fly. And there's more other DJs like Afrojack who would be like, okay, you know what, I'm going to record some things ahead of time and sort of hit play. I think it depends on what you're trying to achieve, and I think it depends on what's possible. I think it makes sense to pre-record a remix of a song that's popular, that's like a completely new production and a whole new experience for your audience that you've pre-made.
Right.
But I think it's so important to be in the moment that I generally don't recommend sort of like, you know, pre-recording a 3-hour set or even pre-setting a playlist for a 2-hour set and then just showing up and hitting play. I don't recommend it because you lose your audience. You lose the moments when you sort of are reacting to the audience and they're reacting to you. And you get a whole lot more and you give them a whole lot more from the experience when you're right there with them.
Like, remember at David's wedding when the DJ played A Whole New World and the whole room started singing? Like, because the what is it? Who are the matron of honor? I just lost my whole. The maid of honor, they were telling the story or something about how this was their song. And the DJ just started playing it in the background and literally the whole room started singing A Whole New World. And he played for like the first 30 seconds and it was just enough, right? It like wasn't the whole thing. And then the speech carried on. But I remember that as being a really awesome moment
I got goosebumps that moment.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it just now. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. That's what we're talking about. Music is an experience.
Yes, it is. And exactly. So for me, you need to be in the moment and sort of react to your audience and react to the experience. And they get a lot more from you when you do that. So I am not really in the camp of sort of pre-recording everything, but I can understand why, given where we are with technology, I can understand why some DJs would want to do that. Right. But going back to the idea of sort of being a mobile DJ versus being a club DJ, there's a lot of ease of like showing up and just playing. But I think given where the industry is and where you can sort of have impact, there's huge advantages to being a mobile DJ. And I can understand why a lot of DJs would sort of jump into the mobile DJ bucket. So I did the wedding a couple of weeks ago, and it was wonderful.
Really? It was in a cave, right?
Yes, I told you, yes. It was in a cave. It was wonderful. And I've never played in a cave before, but it had the best acoustics of anywhere I've ever played before.
Because it's a fucking cave. You don't need any extra because it's nature's acoustics.
I set up, and it's a long cave. I set up my speakers at one edge. I walked all the way to do my sound check, and I could hear all the music clearly all the way at the end. It was beautiful, and it's been treated acoustically. It was wonderful, and I got people swagging and surfing. The groom was leading the party, like the entire party, to swag and surf in the middle of the dance floor. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It is harder. I will say, I want to be able to pick up my USB stick and go to a club 2 blocks down from my house and just play, which I do sometimes. But it's definitely harder to plan ahead of time, show up, do the setup, do everything myself with help from friends. But it's definitely harder to do that, but it's hugely, hugely, hugely rewarding. So I would say right now I'm straddling both worlds of sometimes playing the clubs where I kind of show up with a little bit, versus doing the full blown event where I have to show up with everything.
And how do you, speaking of being at the clubs, how do people know about you? How do they pick you? How do you get booked?
I network. I was telling a friend of mine recently, someone I met recently, that I network in nightclubs these days. I apply my MBA to networking in nightclubs.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's amazing. I love it.
No, when I go to a nightclub, I'm either, spinning or I'm networking.
Oh my God, that's amazing. You're like, I don't have time. I don't have time for you right now. Do you have? I'm working.
That's too funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious. No, I think I think it's twofold. So it's getting the foot in the door in the first few events. So some of them I sort of direct cold call owners of clubs. Like the one I do in my neighborhood, I cold called him a bunch of times. I emailed him a bunch of times. I showed up at his club, and it's one, supporting the event, supporting the venue, and then cold calling, and then that first one sort of gets you the next one, and then you push for more, and you go to other DJs events, you introduce yourself to other DJs, you talk to people. I talk to people at work who might know people who might be producing events at work, to get them to know about me. And
would you DJ an event at work?
Oh yeah, I've done it a bunch of times actually.
Oh good.
Yeah, I do DJ events at work. I would say one of my biggest DJ, maybe I'm trying to figure out if I've done something bigger than 300 people, but I would say definitely the one that I know for sure was a little over 300 people, was a work event. It was in a camp where we were camping. We were glamping, I would say. Not quite camping. We were glamping as a work offsite. There were over 300 people there from across the globe, from London, Dublin, India, Delhi, New York.
Wow.
All in one place, all partying. And it was wonderful, having a global audience like that and being able to sort of make their be a bit of a taste maker for all of them. So play a little Bollywood hits, play some EDM, trance music, and play in different ages and everyone is excited and happy and they're screaming.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm so excited for you. And I can see how excited you are about this. And I think sometimes on one hand, you sort of don't present this way. I wouldn't have thought immediately that you're a DJ, right? I think you present creatively, but also cerebral. And so to see you in this fully creative, it's uber creative. Right?
No,
it's just so exciting.
Yeah, it is. I had dinner with a friend of mine who the last time she was so she lives in Kenya. And the last time she was in San Francisco was literally the night I described at the beginning of our conversation 4 years ago. And so she's back in San Francisco, and she's like, "Wait, you're
doing this."
I'm hearing that you're now a DJ, and she remembers me from MIT, which is so she was maybe 2 years ahead of me at MIT. And she remembers me from MIT. She remembers like her vision of me.
Yep.
Is more like the nerdy person. So she's like, what? And then she's like, wait, how did you get into this? And the funny thing is, I didn't remember she was there that night. So I started telling her the story, just like I told you. She was like, wait, I was there.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, it's a different side of me, but it's a side I'm very much enjoying.
That's amazing. And the last thing I'll ask you is, how are you managing? I mean, it sounds like you're doing really well since you're performing at work events, but sometimes I think about how how one would mesh their free creative side against their corporate professional persona. Like how do you manage that? I just read a thing about women or Black women in particular bringing their whole self, their like authentic self to work. How are you managing all of that? What does that look like for you?
I think this is a good one. When I think of myself as the mechanical engineer who used to work with sort of a bigger, more like sort of a different kind of company from Google, more of like a defense type company. I definitely wouldn't see myself, doing the mechanical engineer and DJ in that environment. I think Google sort of lends you the freedom to be more of yourself at work. I think there's no question about that. And I have my feelings about pros and cons about Google in general, but I would say like on that front, I feel like I can bring my total full self up to work. I invite my coworkers to like my club gigs, and they're all like totally excited. Some of them also play in bands or play, somewhere else in the Bay Area, and they invite us. So I think every single manager I've had at Google has been tremendously supportive about DJing, asking me like, when's your next gig? Hey, like I think it's one place I would say this, wholeheartedly, like I feel fully comfortable bringing my full self on this front to Google. But I totally agree with you on this question of, how do Black people, Black women, women, Black people, Black women bring themselves to work? Because I don't think all work environments sort of encourage that, are supportive of that, or even understand the need to be. So
beyond just saying it. Right? Everyone says it, but when you come with the scarf in because it's wash day, and we're like, Candace, what exactly is happening? Tell me more.
Yeah. No, I will say on that front, I definitely I always feel like I'm completely supported at work on this front at Google. So that's definitely one thing it's wonderful about working there. And I recognize that not all professional environments are like that. Yeah.
Well, Irina, thank you so much. It's been a super pleasure getting to talk to you and hearing this story. I've heard some of it, but getting to hear the details of it, I'm super proud of you, and you're killing it. And can we share one of your sets on the Breezy Mom podcast page?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I would love to do that so that people can hear exactly what we're talking about. And then I guess if you're in the San Francisco area, how can people find you if you are...
So I can give you I have a DJ moniker. So my DJ name is Coma T. It's actually a play on my middle name. My sister came up with it. It's a play on my middle name and tunes. So T is for tunes. I have an Instagram, which is coma.t.
And is that KOMA?
Yes, KOMA.T with 4 E's. At coma.t. I realize I'm not a millennial enough to sort of know all the social lingo. Media. Lingo. But I'm at coma.t on Instagram and Facebook. Okay. And that's my email at Gmail as well.
Okay, cool. Well, again, thank you so much. You're totally killing it, and I love you.
You're not a shitty mom.
Say that again.
You're not a shitty mom.
Oh,
I need to get this in before my interview's over.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Like that's probably the number one thing most moms want to hear. So I appreciate that wholeheartedly.
I see you with your boys, and they are wonderful.
Thank you. All right. So with that, Irina, thank you. We'll see you soon. Come back anytime.
Okay. This is a lot of fun. Thanks. All right.
Oh my God.
She's great.
She's amazing.
She's great. She was just like, so like, you can tell when someone loves to do something, right? because there's a passion behind how they speak about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
don't you feel better? You were in a shitty mood earlier. Don't you feel better?
Honey, I felt better the moment you got here.
Well,
but
I do have that effect.
Stuff is still happening, but it's just.
But you're right.
But I did go on Facebook and I did like her page.
Oh, good, good, and we will link to it on Breezy Moms.
Yeah.
But yeah, and she's got this beautiful smile, and so whenever I see her, you have to you reflect it, right? You can't help but reflect it. So,
but I think a lot of the success too is that she's also extremely personable and energetic, and she's got a very positive aura that just literally she just.
You can touch it. You can touch it.
Yeah,
it's
like,
great.
You can feel it. And we had her via Skype.
Right.
But you can feel it in the room. So, and I think that probably helps a lot in making her sets that much more amazing when you're out there in the club and you're listening and you're watching. Because, some people do. I'm a people watcher. I will sit back and watch what's going on in the room. And you can tell when someone is connecting. And someone is doing something to purposely make people connect. And when you have that power and you have that aura and you have that energy, that's always a good thing.
It really, really is. I'm also keenly aware of how hard it is to have this thing on, quote unquote, on the side that you're really into when you're in kind of when you're in a professional, right? Like you can definitely relate.
I have 3 computers in here going, microphones everywhere, lines, it's like, you got to, this one, got to mute that one, got to play here. And I can totally relate.
And doing that, having that life and also managing your corporate professional persona. And if you're able to mesh those things in a way that's reasonable for both sides, I think is probably enviable, because I bet there are a lot of people who are doing their passion project on the side quietly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think Janae said a few episodes back that obviously you have to pay the bills, right?
Well, of
and
course.
Sometimes your
passion project doesn't do that,
right? And your professional job pays the bills for your passion project until your passion project can. So I didn't get to ask her if that was if that's a goal for her, but we'll ask her in a follow up if the goal is to do DJing full time, or there is definitely a world where you can be into and passionate about both.
When you think about some of the great DJs that have existed or that exist.
Idris Elba.
Sorry,
I don't know if you were going for great DJ, but he's an actor, right? And he's totally a DJ on the side.
Yeah, but I was thinking, for example, Avicii, and you think about all these massive DJs.
I'm like Idris Elba, sorry.
I was going somewhere, and but I think it was Avicii was the one that killed himself, unfortunately, about 6 months back. But there's a lot of great DJs that can really make themselves super big and make really big bucks.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I like that dude Zed. I think he's German or he's Russian, maybe Russian. Zed, have you heard Zed?
No.
Zed, there's so many songs Zed with Rihanna, with Halsey, he's with all of them, but he's the DJ, and I don't think he sings. I don't think I've ever heard him sing. But there's always a hook.
But that's the thing. It's some of these DJs is they have all these albums, but they don't sing. They just
DJ
mix, and
I
they have other artists do stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I like that kind of music. Well, that I said that kind of music, but I guess DJs span all the music. What I'm thinking about is dubstep. I'm really low key sidebar into dubstep.
Oh, nice. Well, now we know.
Now you know.
And knowing is
now
half
everybody
the battle.
knows. Now everybody knows. So yeah, I hope that people enjoyed that conversation, because this whole idea of going for something like that seems so out of the box for you, probably not to you, but for you from other people, right? People don't assume that you'd be into something like that, or whatever that is for you, but really just kind of diving in and trusting your own instinct and your own self to be interested and do the thing that you want to do. I think a lot of us are afraid.
When you think about it, there's that saying, do the thing that you love and you'll never be bored. Right. And when you're doing something but when you're doing something you absolutely love, I can't think for the life of me, and I work at a bar and, I bartend and stuff. I cannot think for the life of me getting up at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday to go over my homeboy's house to spin for 2 hours first thing in the morning.
Right.
First of all, I'd like to know what kind of neighbors he has, because if you're spinning at 9
Well, they
o'clock,
could be spinning in their headphones.
well, sometimes people like to feel the thump too.
That's
So
true.
I just don't know. But if my neighbor was a DJ and he's spinning, he ain't putting them headsets on. We's got to talk, because I just got home at 4 o'clock in the morning, and no.
Right. But he probably lives in a creative space. You know, they're always
true.
like those kind of creative neighborhoods.
Have you seen the apartments in San Fran? In certain areas, they're it's getting to the point where it's almost like New York at this point.
Oh, like right on
Because
top of each other, right
it's
close
so
to each other.
expensive to live in San
Yeah.
Francisco. The rate of like the rents, the amount of the property value is so insane that everything is so expensive that people are sort of kind of, figuring out ways to make it work.
Yeah, they said I think the number was like $117,000, like as an income gets you a studio.
Yeah. So
Or something like if your salary is that, but
I mean, you
yeah,
would
it's
literally
crazy.
have to live in the outskirts, like probably drive like close to LA to find something
Right.
that's reasonable and
and
sizable.
LA is not
like,
reasonable.
Like my house, it's like I would have to literally drive to LA to find something that I could rent that gives me the square footage of my house
It's all true.
for the price.
For the price, yeah.
You can find. I mean, there's amazing houses in San Francisco that are very big and beautiful and historic, but
Gotta have the money for it.
gotta have that money.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. Something I wanted to do very quickly, I hope very quickly, is I was watching on Netflix yesterday. Have you seen this movie? It's a Netflix original called Been So Long.
No.
Oh my God. So I'm not usually into musicals, but it is a musical. So that's number one. And I know people are going to be like, musical. Or some people will be like, yay, musical. But it's called Been So Long, and it stars, her name is Michaela, I think is her name, Michaela Cole, and she wrote and stars in Chewing Gum. Have you seen that show on?
No.
Okay. Anyway, she's Ghanaian, so shout out to Ghanaians, and she's also British, and so she's got this show on Netflix called Chewing Gum, and then now this movie where she's the lead, and it is just an incredible, like, I think Netflix suggested it to me, and because I like her, I clicked on it, and I was not prepared to stay awake for like an hour and a half movie at 12 o'clock last night, and I kept saying, I will turn it off, and watch it another day, and I watched the whole thing, and it's basically about a single mom with her like 9-year-old daughter, and she's trying to figure out if she's, like, everybody around her is trying to push her to date, like, get involved, and the first person she meets that she might be interested in is a dude who just got out of jail that day. Like, he's like just got out of jail that day, but he's awesome. And so, like, trying to like so many things to unpack, but like you're looking for someone and they seem really cool, but are you gonna date someone who just got out of jail? Like, what is this about? Like, how is that gonna be helpful to my life?
Well, it
but
depends.
he's still, but
what
exactly,
was he in jail for?
Exactly. All of it depends. It's all circumstantial. It's all semantics. It's all situational. So that's the whole thing. That's the underlying story, and just how they sort of play through that and all the.
Have you seen some of the daddies that come out of jail?
Right.
All they got is time to eat shit
time.
and exercise. They be coming out with some washboard ads.
And dude was singing. It's a musical.
I gotta do laundry. Come here.
Oh my God, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was really cool to see her in this lead role, and then this like fully. It's probably. I won't say that it's super diverse because it's probably half the cast is black and half the cast is white. But it looks like they're all British, and just this storyline. I don't think they were married, but the guy she was with before is white, and then he tries to come back, and he sneaks to talk to the daughter without the mom knowing, and so he's trying to like form a relationship with the daughter, and the auntie is helping them, but they know that she's gonna be mad, but like, is that the right thing to do, or is it not?
Was the daughter his?
Yeah, it's his daughter.
Okay, so.
Yeah. No, it's his daughter, but the daughter doesn't even know him. When he walked up in front of her, she didn't even know who he was. So there's just a whole lot of like real life, like, it's so complicated, it must be real. kind of things. You know, like usually stories wrap up really nicely in a bow and it's like all perfect because someone wrote it. No, this is like real life complications.
So it's like Shonda Rhimes real.
Yes. It was amazing. And then my favorite part, because it's dramatic, but also maybe a dramedy. But there's this character who shows up in all of these scenes because he's low key stalking the dude who just came out of jail, because in a happenstance instance, this weird guy saw a girl that's beautiful. He loves her. And she saw the dude from jail behind him. So he thought she was smiling at him the whole time. And he was hoping he was going to get to like meet her and introduce himself. And she walked right by him to this guy. And so he never actually talked to this woman. It's not like the dude stole his girlfriend. He never talked to him, but he's like mad crazy. And so the whole movie, he is basically stalking this guy, but in the funniest. I mean, stalking is not funny, but this dude is like hiding, like following him behind the bus, like hiding under. It's really funny. As I say it out loud, it sounds really terrible, but it's hilarious.
So basically, what I'm hearing is you definitely have to go watch it.
You do. You really do. And if you're not into musicals, you have to push past the musical because the story is really good. The acting is really good.
But it's like, I do have to point out that there's people out there say, "Oh, I'm not into musicals," but then they'll sit there through the entire movie of Grease.
Oh, people think Grease is not a musical? Oh,
but it's a movie.
Yeah,
the original at least. Like, because I've had friends. Oh, I'm really not into musicals. Grease comes out. Oh, let's watch this. Oh, I remember this.
Right.
Tell me more.
I guess Grease transcends musical.
It's like,
Yeah,
no,
it was. Too. And I didn't know it was a musical when I clicked on it. I just clicked on it, and all of a sudden they started singing. I was like, wait, what's happening?
Like, I'm not a fan, like a super fan of musicals, but I had a friend of mine that said, hey, Les Mis is coming out. Do you want to go see it? And I did. And I sat there, and when I saw Anne Hathaway do I Dream the Dream, sobbing while she's doing it, I was crying in the theater. Like, I felt her pain. Like, I felt the loss of her kids and everything that she went through in that entire movie. I was like, oh my God, this is intense.
Yeah, I can't do well, actually, I'm going to a play tomorrow, and I'm gonna do as much as I can, because I'm like a bird. When the lights go off, I close my eyes and I go to sleep. And I have fallen asleep in every single production I've ever gone to, like a terrible No Home Training.
Have you ever been to Wicked? Have you ever seen Wicked?
No, I haven't seen Wicked.
I think that would probably be one that you would never fall. Fine. You don't have an opportunity.
I mean, I haven't been to a ton. I haven't been to all of them, all the musicals, but just plays, just like any kind of thing that I go to, I fall asleep. Even the Shakespeare in the Park. Yeah. I'm like sitting on the picnic table, and all of a sudden I'm sleeping on a paper towel roll. Like, it's just
you're a mess.
What happened? So, where was I going with that? Anyway, go onto Netflix and watch this musical movie. Been so long, because it's amazing. And I guess shout out to Netflix for putting out these really cool.
They're putting a lot of diverse stuff out there.
Cool stuff, just really cool. And then a quick shout out to the CW, because James and I have been like trying to catch up on some shows. We're just like, holy shit, what's going on with all these shows that have all like. I hate when sometimes even I fall into the trap of saying that something is diverse because there are a lot of black people in it. That's not actually diverse. It's just a lot of black people, which is number one. Like, thanks for putting us on TV. But CW is not only putting on a whole lot of black people, but the shows are actually really diverse. So I just got into Black Lightning this week, and I'm catching up on Black Lightning.
Horrible.
So I am giving Charmed a chance because all three of those girls are women of color. Two of them are half black, half white, and one of them is Dominican.
No, it's amazing.
Or she's Puerto Rican?
I think she's Hispanic. I just can't remember where she's from. Dominican. But listen, the cast, A+. But the storylines and the graphics, is just
But
horrendous.
did you watch? I was explaining this to James. Did you watch the original Charmed?
Yeah.
Okay, so the original Charmed, it's an hour-long show. It's basically 50 minutes of, oh my God, this is the craziest demon we've ever encountered. It's so hard. We're never going to be able to do it. And the last minute is, oh, hocus pocus, and it's done. And they get swirled up into like a flame of blue light, and then they disappear. Like, that's the whole show. It's so hard, and it wraps up just like that. And that's how it's always been from 1996 on.
Yeah,
so the original
I don't know,
show, I feel like people have a thing for Shannon Doherty, or like they.
No, it's not that.
I don't think the original show was so
like,
great that this one is so bad.
I thought, I still watch the original. I watch the reruns. So it's like when I go back and I look at this remake and I see sort of kind of like where they went with the storyline, right? It's like, and then the Book of Shadows
But I like that it's just a totally redone story. It's not like I heard some people saying, they like, how come it's not the daughters of the sisters, or it's not like some kind of continuation?
Because it has to be the Hollowells, right? So how did these girls become the Hollowells?
Well, they just are. They just redid it.
No, it's just, I don't know. No.
Well,
anyway,
the fact is, it's not real, and it's just a story, and they redo stories all the time.
Ouch, that hurt.
They redo stories all the time.
Some stories just don't need to be redone. Like, I can't picture somebody redoing the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
But didn't
As
they?
an official, no, they've never.
Oh, okay.
In the 40 plus years that movie came out, no one has ever dared.
Oh, is that Alan Rickman?
To do an original remake of the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot of stage like presentations and stuff, but never. They better never.
But I mean, like, if they did Buffy again,
it's like
the original Buffy was ridiculous. I love it. I have watched the series multiple times, but it's still trash. It's just, I feel like we all have. Someone said you like the music of the time when you felt your coolest. You get that?
I'm still cool.
But there's a moment where you felt your coolest, and that's the music that you stick to. And I feel like it also covers shows, right? I feel like people get stuck in their time. I didn't even like the
music on the original Charmed. Like, I wasn't into that soft.
No. I'm not talking about music on shows. I'm just talking about that your brain gets stuck into the time when you felt your coolest, just like oftentimes people's style is stuck in their time when they felt the coolest. Sometimes that's high school, sometimes that's college, and give or take,
that clothes sort of kind of just doesn't need to be on you anymore,
right? Like, or that hairdo,
slimpy tee that you used to
or that
wear.
Haircut, that like fanned haircut that you're still rocking. That was cool in 1975 when Jaclyn Smith was fancy. Like, we're over the fanned bangs, but they're like 55-year-old women still fanning their bangs.
We call them bumper bangs.
Yes.
Yeah, bumper bangs with a lot of Aquanet, and you were ready to go.
Yes, Aquanet. Oh my God.
All right, girl. Hashtag Mom So Hard. Let's
so
go.
The Mom So Hard tip. So anyway, there's some things to watch on TV. If you can find some time, binge a few things on the CW and on Netflix. Moving on to the Mom So Hard tip of the week. Today we had a bit of a warm day, but something that I've been working on like all summer and into fall is doing nap time outside for fresh air. So there's this whole thing in Scandinavia where they and in parts of Europe, I hear, where they put kids outside to sleep outside. Like, nap time is outdoors, especially in the winter. And I have feelings about how cold it should be when you put your kids outside. But this whole thing about kids being cooped up inside the house all the time in the winter, the windows are closed, the doors are closed, everything is closed. That's where the germs are. And so having some time outside in the fresh air is actually good for your system. So most of the summer, my kids have been sleeping on our porch, and today, so I had pulled them in a little bit the last couple weeks, and then today it was nice again, so we did nap time on the porch again today. And number one, they sleep really well. Number two, the access to like fresh air is really great. And number three, I don't know. I don't have a number three. I think number one and number two were the things that the Scandinavians will say is the most beneficial for napping outside. And so there's lots of research you can kind of go in and check on about it. And not everybody is able to do this all the time, but it's akin to letting your kids sleep in a stroller when you're out already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we're all doing it at different points, but it's when you're in your house making a point to
make time for it,
to also do it. And I find that it just like the infant that I take care of sleeps really well outside, and my kids actually sleep really well outside. And the benefit for me is that I have an enclosed porch that is right off of my kitchen. So they're outside, but they're still kind of in my house sort of thing. But I've seen videos of people in Australia have started doing outdoor nap time in daycare centers and at schools, and they bring the cots outside into the playground. So like playground.
Do you
cots
know the kind of
outside.
stuff that lives in Australia? The big ass spiders and snakes and
Listen,
God knows what.
I don't live in Australia, but if you grow up in Australia, I guess you're used to like big ass
I
spiders.
saw a spider the other day and I swear I almost broke my neck.
So did I at my mom's house, and they treat her like a roommate. I was very, very disturbed.
What the hell? Who do they have in their house? Charlotte?
They named her Charlotte. Oh my God. I'm not going back. I'm not going back to my mom's house until that's taken care of. But anyway, the point is to, if you can, and I guess you could start easy with like put them in the stroller. You probably are already, because if you're caught outside with your kids in the stroller and they're sleeping, you don't like stop what you're doing and run inside.
Or wake them up.
Or wake them up to drag them in the house.
Like, oh, good, he's sleeping. He won't bother me for the next half hour. Yay. Me time.
So real. So real. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. And again, I know that not everybody has access to like a outside, I call it my inside outside, that feels super accessible. But even if the other thing I was thinking is sometimes when I go, because with daycare, I have to be with, like, it's not like I can push them into my backyard and then leave them, walk away. Like I can't do that. It gives me time to stop whatever the like 1,000 things like your brain is running. You're like, oh, I have to do all of these things. You have to sit here with the kids while they're sleeping. Take a minute to relax. I'm trying to like live in the moment.
That's important.
Anyway, where are we going with that? That's the tip for the week.
Yeah. So make sure you bring your babies outside.
Yes, bring your babies
degrees.
outside.
Let them
sleep. And we're today was like freakishly warm. Actually, today felt like what September should have felt like. And instead, September felt like December. But it's getting cooler, and I am also trying to make a habit of opening my windows. Like I'm trying really hard, especially this is my first winter having a daycare in my house. It's only a couple kids, but you want to make sure you're sort of like circulating air, like let your house breathe a little bit. I don't want to get into like Cloroxing and Lysoling everything, like killing everything like that. But I think a little bit of fresh air will help, along with some light cleaning. Anyway, it's just some things to be thinking about as we move into flu season. Yeah, and I guess that's also a shout out to everyone and myself. I'm going to go this weekend to get your flu shot and make sure that you're protected, not only for yourself, but for the so many people who have, what are they called? Like compromised immune systems. Yeah. The flu shots and vaccines in general are not so much like only for you. It's also for the people around you who can't fight, the way your body can. So PSA. Get your shots.
Get your shots.
All right, guys. We will be back next week. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye. This show is produced by Tom Ortiz at Digital Stream Radio. It's available for download on Podbean. Follow us at Facebook at Breezy Moms Podcast or email us at breezymomspodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, don't stress, just breathe.